Good evening, everybody. Just let me know if you can see and hear me okay. Special shout out to Jamie, who's always the first to comment, always waiting on YouTube. Just check that I've gone live. So fingers crossed that you can see and hear me okay. I'll just wait for a few more people to jump on. Before we get started, just wait for Facebook to send out the notification. Hope everyone's okay. Yeah, it's working. Can hear me. Hooray. Not sure who said that. Just give us a like and a love if you want. Say hello in the comments. As Sean said that you can see and hear me, great. Stuart said everything's loud and clear. Just wait for a few more people to jump on. Working for me, which is good. Oh, that's Ollie. Hi, Ollie. Yeah, so tonight we're going to talk about sourcing a little bit. It's one of the biggest issues, I think, across all of the different selling models on Amazon. You know, sourcing is one of the areas where people kind of really struggle with. And I'm going to go into it tonight and talk about manual sourcing and why, when I was doing vanilla arbitrage, straight kind of arbitrage, why I still believe it to be the best way of sourcing on Amazon, the best way to find profitable products. Now, I've since discovered, I've never been a big fan of softwares or anything like that, but I have discovered a couple recently that have really helped with sourcing process, especially the type of sourcing I do for bundles and things like that. So I can't forever say that I'm a non-software user forever. It's, that's definitely not the case anymore. And the guys in ESA will see, the software I use and how we use it. And I explain, why we use these different types of software. So it's not really a case of I'm anti-software. I've never found software in the time that I was just doing straight arbitrage, anything that kind of worked for me for a variety of different reasons. One, probably, and the most important is I'm not a technophobe or anything like that. Once I learn how to use something, I can learn how to use it really, really well. But I got better results with manual sourcing. That's the way I saw it more than anything else. And if I was getting as good of results during doing the manual sourcing, then I didn't really see the point of learning different types of software. And I know some people might think that that's quite close-minded, but it was working for me at that time, and that's the way that I did it. But I will say the people that do, go on and really master different paid software services and things like that, really do get benefits out of it. So just before we go ahead, it'll be interesting just to hear people's thoughts about what type of sourcing methods that you use yourself. Is it manual? Is it, do you source mainly through deal services or deal sheets, or is it sourcing software? All of these different things. If you let me know in the comments, it'd be really interesting to hear people's thoughts. And because as time goes on, new softwares are created, new opportunities, new services, all these different types of things. So I appreciate people might not want to share if they found anything like super secret. So please don't share anything if you know that it's not out in the public domain. I'm a firm believer of, keeping that front to yourself. Storefront raiding. Hi, Daniel. Says evening. Sorry. Just made me laugh. Yeah, we're going to talk about that a little bit tonight, actually, because that's something that I know people love. Storefront stalking, and it works really well for people. And I think that you can use it in a way that I'm going to talk about tonight, definitely, which will help you kind of give inspiration for, where to start, starting points, that type of thing. So I'm going to cover that a little bit tonight. But just to be clear, what I'm not going to do tonight is to show like anyone's store or anything like that. I've seen a couple of like horror videos where people go into public videos and going into people's store and, looking at their products and things like that. So everything I'm going to look at is on the surface. of things tonight, and I'm going to talk through things because I don't want to expose people's products. I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt years ago. Some of the first live online sourcing sessions that I did, I got some very angry messages afterwards with people sort of saying, you showed my store, you showed my products, you know, this and that. So I try not to not to do that anymore publicly, because I think, you know, especially with this business, you guys work hard to get the leads that you get, so I really don't want to expose them. And when I talk about things, and I'm going to talk about a couple of brands tonight, but I'm going to talk about ones that I believe, unless I'm absolutely wrong, but I believe to be in the very public domain, that people hear about, so, or people know about. So again, from that point of view, it will be up to you to dig deeper and to uncover, you know, more hidden brands and listings and things like that. But hopefully give you some tips on how to do it tonight. Philip Dyke, who is a software guru for sure, has said, I use Source Mogul for OA and wholesale. Philip, I know how much you talk about Source Mogul and how useful it is. And you're the perfect example of someone, what I was talking about, who really understands software and how to use it to their advantage. And if you can do that, I know absolutely that you can achieve fantastic results. Oh, by the way, obviously, yeah, there we go, wearing a black top tonight, so you can't see the Secret Wealth project logo. Someone tells me that every time I do it. They're like, you realize you can't see the logo when you wear a black top. But you know, you guys know that anyway. I do Octopays for scraping, and I do RA with a group of people. Yeah, absolutely. So bolo groups, things like that, really, really handy. And again, Phil, I know you're massively successful through doing those methods of sourcing. And I don't know if anybody out there does anything exactly the same. And that's the beauty of this business, because, you know, you can all find things from different services, whether they be paid, whether they're things you're doing yourself, whether it's something that you're teaching your VA to do. It's definitely good to experiment. And everything that I'm going to talk about tonight as well, I literally scratching the surface, guys. You know, take the tips, take the things that we're going to talk about tonight, really dig deep, and, you know, really start using, you know, some of these manual sourcing techniques in order to expand upon your sourcing world. Sean says we get big sellers jumping on our basic listings we created. Doesn't take long as they jump on, but shows we're doing something right. Absolutely, for sure. Lily's joined us as well. That's the thing. I mean, you guys know, again, something we talk about ESA and all the time, you know, all the time. If the products are branded and there's nothing unique about them or anything like that whatsoever, even if you create the listing, then it is available for other people to jump on. That's the idea of, you know, arbitrage. You can make it kind of difficult as possible, in the sense of, you know, keeping things hidden and stuff like that. But yeah, unless it's private label, unless it's, you know, certain type of way of doing arbitrage, then it's very, very difficult. But just to clarify, I'm not talking about like listing branded products under your own brand when you don't own or control the brand or anything like that at all. So I think there's enough people here now to start. So it's good to hear different people's methods, and like I say, really, before we jump in, it's something that obviously, with regards to manual sourcing, doing it for a long time, doing it myself for a long time, you know, there are certain things that I'll talk about tonight that I think come with experience, but I'll make that absolutely clear when we go through that. So, you know, I don't expect, there's certain things, because I've been doing this for, you know, a long time, that you become aware of certain brands and things like that, and that only comes with experience. So I'll try and, you know, separate that out as much as possible and say, okay, this is something when your experience is going to build, this is something that you can do from the start and help develop those at that level of experience. Denise has joined us as well. So I'm going to jump in and I'm going to share my screen for tonight. You know, it's a special session when you get a screen share. Let's jump that in and put that on there. Okay. Actually, no, I'm just going to quickly jump back and get rid of me so I can make it bigger. Just let me know that you guys can see that okay. Paul's joined us, evening. Obviously, it's just me tonight, guys, so I will try my best to keep an eye on the comments. Dean says, evening, or have I missed anything? No, you haven't as yet, just me waffling on. So just let me know if, you know, if you could let me know possibly with whether it's a question or whether or not it's just a comment. I mean, hopefully I've been doing this long enough to recognize the difference between the two. However, you know, if there's a specific question, and if for any reason why I'm sharing my screen and I miss the question, then please feel free to kind of copy and paste it and ask it a bit later on when I'm not sort of sharing my screen as much. Then I've got more chance of seeing it. Paul's joined us as well. Evening, Paul. Okay, so I want to talk about online arbitrage manual sourcing techniques. So just to be clear, I actually think there are dozens and dozens of different type of sourcing techniques. There's loads of inspiration that you can pull from. I don't think any one person, you know, has ever, you know, got everything down kind of 100%. So, and this is what I say, always say, if there's any type of, you know, training I'm doing, this isn't training tonight, by the way, this is just, you know, kind of a walkthrough of things. But if anything like that is that, the best place, you know, or the best type of experience to gain is, you know, never stop learning. Always look at different kind of people and the way that different people do things, because you always find someone that no one does everything exactly the same way. And what you find that you'll end up doing is, you know, taking, you know, a little bit of information from there, a little bit of information in there, and then you'll adapt it to your own way and what works for you and what doesn't work for you. We're all individual people at the end of the day, and what might work for me might not work for someone else. So I just want to kind of make that clear at the start. Okay, so I personally think, in my own personal opinion, that the key to manual sourcing is patience and persistence. Now, often I talk about manual sourcing being a skill, and I really do think it is a skill. It depends on the type of person you are, at what level I think it becomes a skill. But actually, when it comes to manual sourcing, it's more of a process, and it's more about consistency, and it's more about experience of doing the same thing over and over again. But absolutely, the people I think that do it well have that level of skill that they can keep doing it on a regular basis. They're patient with it. They don't get frustrated. They know when to stop if something's not working out for them, and they're persistent with it as well, which where I think the level of skill comes in, because patience and persistence are definitely things that you can work on in order to, you know, build up that kind of level of characteristics, I suppose, alongside with the experience of, you know, the more you do this, the better you're going to get at it. It's as simple as that. So those are definitely the two P's that I think it comes to, you know, being successful with all levels of manual sourcing. And to be perfectly honest, with, you know, this type of business as well. So just a couple of types of manual sourcing to talk about. Some of them that you may have heard of, some of you might have not heard of, but most likely, again, no big secrets here tonight. A lot of these have been talked about either, you know, through my training, YouTube, you know, anywhere where you can learn how to sell on Amazon kind of thing. So the types of manual sourcing that generally are the most popular types of manual sourcing is, and this is the first one that I learned out, which is copy and paste. And when I first started selling on Amazon, it kind of, until you started delving deep, it became really the you know, it was the only way to really find things if you were not using something like FBA Wizard, which was the go-to software at the time, and possibly Tactical Arbitrage. I think that was around then as well. So if you weren't using a kind of sourcing software, then you tend to have to go to a website. You go on the website, you look at the offers, you go through the offers that are available, you copy and paste the information over to Amazon, and you can see if you find a match. Now, what you'll find that we'll talk about tonight is I still use a version of that as well, but I kind of do it in a different kind of order, essentially, because you still have to match the right product to the right listing. But something that's come along in the last, you know, sort of maybe year or so or something like that can really help if you are a standard kind of copy and paste sourcer, is BuyBot Pro Manual Sourcing Accelerator, where you just kind of click on the, I think it's the right hand click of the button, and while you hover over a product, you highlight the title, you hover over the product, and then you can go on and have a look and see if it can identify that particular product. So that's a nice shortcut way to do it. Now, copy and paste definitely still has its you know, place in today's arbitrage sourcing world. It's really, really good for, again, I'm going to show my sourcing age here. It's really, really good when you get like certain types of offers where they're not separated by a brand. So if you go onto a website, let's just say Argos, for instance, and they're running like their toy sale or something like that, and you can't really search for like Paw Patrol stuff when it comes up, because if you just search for Paw Patrol stuff, it's going to leave out all the Barbie stuff, and it's going to leave out all the Lego stuff, and it's going to leave out everything else. So, you know, it is boring, it is tedious, but if you are working your way through if you're working your way through a list of offers where you know that there's an offer applied to a certain category on a website, it's still one of the best ways to be able to identify deals. And if you can identify them quicker and get them all ordered to your local Argos quicker than anywhere else. But, you know, that's like your 3 for 2 deals or things like that, which we don't see 3 for 2 so much anymore. But, you know, when they're running like a 20% off for Christmas or something like that. You've got paid inspiration sourcing as well. So this is where you are using a little bit of influence, outside influence, but essentially you are still utilizing all of the areas of manual sourcing that we're going to talk about tonight. So this is where, if you are part of onlinearbitragedeals.com, or if you are part of a deal sheet or any type of deal sourcing software or something like that, you're looking for that initial product to be supplied to you, or that initial brand or that initial website, where you're maybe, and this is probably going to suit newer sellers to start with. Whereas if you've not been around for so long, you might not be aware of some of the best stores to search from, or you might not be aware of some of, you know, the brands that you can sell or resell on Amazon. So it's where you're paying for leads, essentially. And one of the things I always talk about is, especially if you're paying for leads, is to make sure that you utilize those leads as much as possible. So just to absolutely rinse those leads to death. And I'll be able to show you how to do some of that tonight, because there's a good chance if your lead is being supplied to you, or you discover a lead, then whether it's a brand, whether it's a type of product, whether it's a website, if there is one deal there that works, or a replenishable or something like that, then there's definitely a good chance that it's going to work elsewhere as well. Sorry, not elsewhere. It will work, you know, for a couple of other of the products within the brand range or something like that. Another way of manual sourcing, which is to use Keeper, and that's to go through the data in Keeper to change the filters, to really narrow down, you know, via brands, whether Amazon's in stock, all of these different types of areas. I'm not going to go into Keeper sourcing tonight, but it's something that can be really utilized in order to find some really great deals. It works really well with wholesale, identifying, those areas. But the thing about keeper sourcing is it's a lot of information. So what you find yourself having to do, unless you are, really narrowing down the parameters in your searches, is just making sure that you're not overwhelming yourself with too much data. But Keeper's absolutely fantastic for identifying brands that you might not have been aware of that are selling on Amazon, brands that then you can, go down the rabbit hole and find, either brand owned websites, or you can find wholesalers, or you can find suppliers that you didn't find before. So keeper sourcing, if you know how to do it, is a really, really great way of manual sourcing. It's great for bundles and things like that as well. Identifying, some of those hidden listings, especially on the higher ranked side of products for sure as well. Okay, storefront stalking. So really, really popular way of identifying leads, essentially for you to follow up on products as well. Now, the thing about storefront stalking for me, or storefront raiding, or whatever you want to call it, is you have to be careful a little bit with stalking people's stores, because you don't know how long, essentially, on the outset that listing has been on there for. So if you are storefront stalking, make sure that you're checking how long that particular seller has, listed the product, how long, which you can check through Keeper, how long they might have been on that particular one. But what it's really great for is, as opposed to individual products. So what I mean by that is, even some of the products I'm going to talk about tonight, some of these products were on special offer over the weekend. They're not on special offer anymore. So you might be going through someone's store and you might have come across a product where they've had that product in their inventory for 6 months or something like that. So you just need to be aware that that product deal might not be available anymore. So I look at storefront stalking as more for kind of inspiration into the brands that you should be looking into, and also identifying new suppliers, potential wholesalers, and things like that as well. Reverse sourcing, always going to be and always will be definitely my favorite way of reverse sourcing. It's something that I've massively adapted over the years into, bundle sourcing, private label sourcing, all of these different types of areas where you can essentially do everything but backwards when you're looking for products on Amazon. And that's the one that I'm going to talk about in kind of the most detail tonight, because like I said, it is definitely and is still my favorite way to, manual source. And it's something I still use today, even though I don't do, traditional arbitrage anymore. And then finally, SmartRa. So this is where it's a kind of hybrid model between online arbitrage and RA. Now, we all know in a lot of the cases with retail arbitrage that you really can get some of the best deals when it comes to retail arbitrage for a variety of different reasons. It might well be, the area that you live in. I talked about this previously. Asda's a great example of this for sure. That you go into certain types of Asda's in London and they're running a location specific deal, but the Asda's down in the south of England are not running that type of deal. So therefore, anyone that's in the London area is able to pick up some kind of great bargains that the rest of the country can't pick up on. And that works especially with a lot of big chain stores, mainly supermarkets, mainly places like that, where they tend to run localized deals more than anything else. It's really with the retail arbitrage when you run those big national deals, again, Asda, Morrisons, places like that, where you get the big yellow set of Lego, which every man and their dog in the retail arbitrage and online arbitrage world ends up sourcing those type of products. So there's certain things that do still get saturated, absolutely, in retail arbitrage, but you've definitely got less chance of retail arbitrage products being saturated, purely because it takes more effort to go out and do retail arbitrage. But so for the people that want to do retail arbitrage, but to be honest, for a lot of people, most people go in and kind of do, especially when they're starting out, they go in and what I call do like kamikaze retail arbitrage, where they go in with no plan, no idea what to do, and they just go in and you start scanning products. And most people kind of luck out on that, and people get frustrated. And we've all seen posts in the group where people will say, I went, for my first retail arbitrage trip, and I stood there for 2 hours and I didn't find anything, and everything's this, or nothing had any profit in, or whatever. Well, that's because you haven't kind of gone in with a plan. You haven't done your research first of all. So there's a couple of ways that you can do that. The most simplest way is to identify the products via the online sourcing route, and then check to see which ones can be ordered to store for pickup, or the ones where in particular that if you've got someone like Argos or someone like that, purely for an example, where you can check stock in local stores beforehand. So like with me, in this area, although saying that, we've had 2 shut in the last sort of month or so. Most Arguses have gone into a Sainsbury's of some sort, but there is literally probably within, say, a 10 or a 15 mile radius, there's at least 10 to 15 Argos stores in some version, whether it be in Sainsbury's, whether it be on a retail industrial estate, whether it's in the local high street or something like that. When most people have like an Argos in their local town or something, well, what you can do is you can find a product online and you can check all of the Argos before you go in and order them or anything like that. And you can place the orders in, and you can strategically go in and pick stuff up. Now, obviously, you're not going to be doing retail scanning in Argos anyway as well, just identifying that from a geographical point of view, essentially. But the other thing you can do is something which I call SmartRa, which is where you literally go into stores and you take pictures of the shelves. And it sounds so simple, but it's so easy. If you think about, a standard shelf within a store, I don't actually know now that it's come across, now that I've said it out loud, but identifying how many products are on like a section on the shelves in a supermarket store. I mean, you could have one section that could have 100 products on it. It'd be interesting to go and count and find out now, actually. Well, by the time you've scanned every single product on that shelf, it could be half an hour, could be 45 minutes, something like that. And by then you look like the weirdo that's been stood in the same spot. And I have to pick up Philip here for something he posted the other day about being identified by the cameras in supermarkets if you are going in too regularly or that type of thing, and they're following you around. I don't know if it was face recognition or something like that. But you've been stood on the spot and you've been sourcing there for a really long period of time, and you might get some staff coming up to UK, that type of thing. Well, instead of doing that, standing there, getting frustrated, go in, take pictures of the shelves. So go in on when's a quiet time to go shopping, a Monday morning or something like that. And you literally systematically can work your way throughout the store over a period of time. Now, it's going to take some time. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. And I wouldn't recommend photographing the whole store to start with. I wouldn't even recommend, I really wouldn't even recommend going in and taking pictures of a full aisle, because by the time you get around to looking at it all, you might have taken 20 pictures of your kids, you might have snapshotted other things, you might have done this and you might have done, and it tends to get forgotten. So I would go in and I would take a set amount of photographs, maybe 10 photographs or something like that. And then literally all you do is you zoom in on the products, you identify the brand, and you can search for it manually when you get home, just to see if there's any offers or anything like that, if there's any products that are working. Now, what you can also do, again, is something that you what's Philip's comment? No, don't take pictures, they think you're dodge. And I set the cameras on you, as I found out. We take pictures all the time. We'll snap all the way, but you do it stealth. You do it stealth. Like I said, if you're walking around the whole supermarket and you're taking pictures of every single product, absolutely, just go in, snap, take pictures, make sure you overlap the shelves, zoom in on the products. And a couple of ways you can search. You can do it via Amazon, do it the reverse sourcing technique, and you can look for those products. And probably on the supermarket side of things, it's really good for identifying bundles, multi-packs, you know, things like that. But also a really underused option that people don't tend to use is the Amazon Seller Central app. Not for scanning barcodes, because that actually does have you know, a whole bunch of you know, issues in itself with the wrong barcode being allocated and things like that. So always make sure that you do like a manual search, because what tends to happen on Seller Central app is that you can find and identify listings that might be out of stock. So that might not come up on the front interface of Amazon. So always make sure that when you're checking brands, you're checking products specifically, or if you're doing variations of those products, especially from supermarkets, make sure that you check them on the Amazon Seller Central app as well. Daniel says small video camera works well, cheap on Amazon. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm loving all these covert tips. Camhouse says, get a GoPro, LOL, record the entire shop as you buy. Yeah, do you know what? That's what I'm saying. Take the tips and adapt them exactly how you want to. Just pretend you're taking selfies of yourself down the Tim Veg aisle. Absolutely. So yeah, you take it however you want to. But like I said, don't overwhelm yourself with too much information, because it's only when you get home and you realize how many products are in one picture that a lot of the time, if you're looking for extra leads and things like that, then you know, you're going to overwhelm yourself with too many brands, too many products to be able to look into. And then once you identify products, you literally rinse them to death. If you enter, you know, if one example I was looking at is like Starbucks coffee or something like that, well, then you look at every single variation, go to their website, check out every single variation of that particular Starbucks coffee. You know, does it come in a roasted or an unroasted? Does it come in a caffeinated? Does it come in a decaffeinated? And you can go through and systematically check off a list, you know, all the different products that work. You can then add, you know, the different variations of bundle, pack. Make sure you're using those search terms within and adding them to the actual product, so you can identify as many different variations of that particular product as possible, because there's so many hidden listings on Amazon that people aren't aware of. And especially if you're taught in a certain way to source, to look only for the specific product in the copy and paste way, then you could be missing so much potential opportunity. It's unreal. Then when you identify products, you just create yourself a list. You can do it on Google Drive. You can do it on your purchasing sheet. You can open different tabs, and you can literally just create yourself a shopping list. You can do it in whichever way you want. You can then go online to the supermarket or the store, and you can build out an online order. Or, oh, hang on a sec. Been talking for too long. Apologies, we're back. Then what you can do is you can, I obviously didn't put the coffee thing on. Yeah, you can build out a list, and then you can go ahead and you can order that list online, or you can take a physical shopping list and you can go back in the store and do it. It depends, you know, which way it suits you. Have I lost my screen? Guys, I think I might have done. 2 secs. Let me go back in. Oh yeah. 2 secs, guys. Oh, I don't know what's happened here. Can you guys still see me? Oh, okay. Can you still hear me okay? Yeah, okay. Apologies, guys. I shall just jump back in. I don't know what happened. It just sort of just logged me out. So I'll just wait to see if it goes back on, okay? Yeah. Okay, cool. Oh, don't know what happened there. I actually didn't touch anything, so it wasn't actually me. Okay, so those are the different types of manual sourcing. Like I said, that list is not exhaustive. There literally are lots of different ways, you know, using combination of paid inspiration, using software, you know, loads of different ways to be able to do it. But just some of the ways that I've used in the past and some of the ways that are, you know, some of the most popular and some of the not so popular ways of doing it. Okay, screen is back. Good. Okay, so manual sourcing starting points. Again, this is one of the most difficult kind of areas that people maybe get a little bit confused over, or people really, you know, sort of say, oh, you know, I don't know where to start. I don't know where to, you know, I don't know which brands sell well on Amazon. I don't know which stores to look at, that type of thing. So what's the, you know, what's the most important way to identify it? Well, it's any way that works for you. That's the way that I say it. So manual sourcing starting points, you generally do need a starting point, either it be a website, a product, or a brand. So where do you start? Well, one of the first tips I always give to people, you know, looking for any type of inspiration, is home is where the heart is. And the guys from Elite Sellers will, you know, attest to this. Whenever we're doing live sourcing sessions, you know, I'm always kind of raiding my drawers and looking for products around the home. So that's one of the easiest ways to do it. Now, obviously, I say to people, don't go looking in your fridge or anything like that for kind of products that are going to spoil. It has to be products that have got, you know, a relatively good amount of life to them, or, you know, store cupboard products, or that type of thing. But literally go around your home and make a list of the brands that you've got within your home. And then once you've got that, you can start where it is. But have a look at the drawer, you know, have a look at the drawers, have a look at the, you know, the products that you use yourself, products that maybe you've used in the past. It's a really good starting point, and definitely one that not everybody uses, I don't think. So it's a good place of inspiration, definitely. Previous purchase sheets, again, 100%. This is one of the things that people still forget to utilize, no matter how much I talk about it. I've been talking about this for years. When you are either paying for the information of deals that you've previously had, or for products or brands that you have identified yourself, which in a way you've paid for as well, because you've spent your time looking for those particular products, people really do not utilize the information they already have. I think a big part of being successful on Amazon, absolutely, is knowing how to use the data. And that applies across so many of the different selling models on Amazon. But Amazon is essentially a massive search engine. It's a big database. And you are a data collector. That's the way that you've got to look at it. You are continuously collating and collecting data. So therefore, you need to make sure that you're making a record of the data that you are discovering, so you can use that data in the future. Because things don't always stay on Amazon. Things go out of stock. the listing disappears on the front end of Amazon. You know, seasonal products, you can't always find seasonal products when they're outside of season. Make sure that you're absolutely recording down either your previous purchases or brands that you may have identified, but you may have like struck out with. So you might have come across an interesting brand whilst you're storefront stalking someone else's store, and nothing's worked for you particularly well at that moment, because maybe that particular person, that particular store bought those products 3 months ago, so there's no valid deals on that particular product. Well, make sure you make a list of it, and then you come back and you check it, you know, once a quarter or once a month, you know, using these type of techniques in order to go back and visit it. If you do not had the, you know, if you do not have any type of Google Drive or spreadsheet or anything like that, create one. It's super easy. You just need a Gmail address, get yourself set up on Google Drive. Google Drive, I think, is one of the most important bits of software. I don't know if you call it software, in my business. You know, it's where I keep all of my information. It's where, you know, we log down standard operating procedures, it's leads, data, everything like that. So if you don't have it, go ahead and get it, and then you can use it to collate this information that you can go back and use at a later date. Oh God, has it gone back? No, there we go. So then we've got paid inspiration again. So I've already previously talked about that. So that's where, you know, you're paying for deal sourcing software, Keeper, you're paying for BuyBot Pro. You can use that as well. You're paying for maybe online arbitragedeals.com, tactical arbitrage, Source Mogul, Arbitrage Hero, Helium 10, you know, all of these different types of software where you're physically paying for something that you can utilize that information in order to give you leads. And then once it's giving you a lead, make sure you rinse that information to death. You literally discover every single variation of that particular product or brand until you're absolutely sure that there's nothing less. Nothing less, nothing left. Cashback sites. If you're looking for websites and you're relatively new to selling on Amazon, then cashback sites are a fantastic resource. You literally go into somewhere like Top Cashback. It will give you all of the shopping details. You click down on the shopping. You can search via different categories. I think retail is one of them, that type of thing. And you can go in, you can have a look for the different types of stores, because if they're on like a cashback site, it means generally they're on a cashback site because they want to drive traffic to their website, which means that they probably have like offers and that type of thing. So they're a great resource to have a look and look for definitely some more unusual stores, ones that maybe not everyone is aware of. Store stalking, as we talked about as well. So again, this is definitely more for the people who maybe have been a little bit more experienced in selling, and you see the same names coming up over and over again. You see, you know, if other people are on an arbitrage listing, okay, and you go into their store and you see that they have X amount of products and all of those products look like that they're arbitrage products, then you can get some good inspiration from there for the type of brands that you want to look for. And then Amazon themselves. So, you know, you can look at Amazon for inspiration. You can search through the categories. You can use the filters on Amazon to be able to identify good selling brands, to niche down into different categories, so you can focus on subcategories and then subcategories of subcategories. With the Amazon category browse tree, people don't realize how deep it goes. You know, you could start off in grocery and you could end up about 10 places down in a really niche down version of grocery, in a category where you can identify certain types of products that you know fall well within the arbitrage world. Like I said, things like store cupboard favorites and all of these different types of things. Definitely wouldn't recommend doing that on like Amazon Fresh. or anything like that. But you can filter out certain sellers. You can filter out, you know, you can look at out of stock items. If something's been out of stock for less than 30 days, those filters will help you identify certain areas and give you inspiration for starting points or brands that you can kind of follow down that rabbit hole or rabbit trail, whatever you want to call it, and, you know, see where you end up, essentially. Just going to see if there's any questions. What's paid inspiration? Sorry, John. Oh, hopefully I've explained that now. Hasn't Morrisons selling on Amazon killed store cupboard style things? No, I mean, I don't think so. Not from what I can see. You know, like I said, don't do traditional arbitrage anymore, but we're certainly always, you know, sourcing for bundles and things like that. So you're always going to come across things that either they're out of stock on, or bundle variations, or they might be on one listing, but there might be a duplicate listing that's been created. As far as I'm aware, Morrison is not on every single, you know, Amazon listing in a particular category. You will come across them, absolutely. But again, you know, Storefront stalk them. Some of them might not do bundles. It's like Amazon in particular. I think people don't, some people still don't realize that Amazon do not create bundles themselves. They will only sell manufacturer made bundles. So Amazon have not got staff like we do, or if has your prep center doing, where you buy 2 packs of, you know, herbal essences, shampoo, physically bundling them together and sending them in. Amazon don't do that. They will only sell bundles that have been created specifically for them by the manufacturer. So they're not interested in doing that. That's why there's so much opportunity in bundling as it stands at the moment. So hopefully that answers that. And I think, yes, Stuart says I still sell items stocked in Morrisons. Okay, so let's have a look at reverse sourcing in a little bit more detail. So a lot of the time, this is where you'll start at Amazon and you will type in the brand product. Don't always start at Amazon, most of the time you do. Type in a brand or a product. So that is literally a brand name or a product. So like a style of product. We're going to look at something in tonight. And if you've read the tabs above, you've already seen this probably. So, you know, think of something like a lipstick or something like that, that is a product name, but it's not specific to a brand. So that's how you would essentially start if you weren't looking at anything brand focused. But I do think reverse sourcing does work particularly well starting at the brand. You can end up covering a lot of stuff that's not related to the brand that you started with or brand specific. But, you know, brand, especially if you're newer to doing this, I think it's definitely the best place to start out. Then you use Buybot Pro Quick View, which is, I'll come on and show you in a moment. And you can just give you, and before the kind of Quick View softwares came around, you physically had to go into Amazon to have a look to see whether there was any competition, to see if Amazon was selling the product. So you're looking for a couple of key things to start with. Maybe you're looking for where Amazon are not selling. I know some of you guys are happy to compete with Amazon. But don't always be tricked by what the software says. Always make sure that you double check, because sometimes Amazon, as you guys will probably know, even if they are out of stock or temporarily out of stock, sometimes they still show as in stock. So just because it says it doesn't mean it's true. So just make sure you hover over it or go into it just to double check that. Rank is good depending on the type of rank that you're looking at. I don't source based on rank, so I'm kind of looking for any type of rank to prove that there has been a minimum of a sale at some point. If there's a rank, then it means that it's sold. If there is no rank, it means that it has not sold at any point during its history. Now, I don't know if it's its history completely or whether it's a certain period of time, but as far as I'm aware, it is, you know, during its history. If it hasn't had a rank, it means it's never sold. Then once you've found a product, you can use Google search, copy and paste the title to identify any product opportunity. So what I mean by that, so once you've gone through, you've identified a product, you've searched for something like Nescafe coffee, you've found a product that's of interest, you're looking at it. Another thing to identify that I should have really added there as well is really having a look. And again, this is something that will come with experience. If the product looks expensive, and this is a real gut instinct thing and experience, you get to know really, I suppose, what looks expensive for a jar of coffee. Although that's probably a bad example because the cost of coffee really does always surprise me how expensive coffee is. But say, for instance, a jar of Marmite or something normally costs £2 or £2.50 in Tesco's, and you can see that it's being sold for £8. You know that that's on the expensive side, which means it might warrant further investigation, that there could be some potential profit in that particular item. So what you're looking for is just a little bit of a gut instinct of what potentially could be a good listing on the outset, and then you'll go into the listing and then you can expand on that further. Once you've found products, then like I said, you really want to rinse those products. You want to look at all the different possible variations of that particular product that you can. Now, sometimes that's easier with certain brands than it is with others, and I'll come on and talk about that in a moment. But once you've done that, when you've optimized when you've maximized all the potential type of searches or different search variations for a particular product or brand, and I'm talking about really niching it down, like I said. So think about that Starbucks coffee. So once you've gone through that, once you've identified Starbucks roasted coffee, okay, then you want to look at Starbucks roasted coffee multi-pack. Then you want to look at Starbucks coffee bundle. Utilize every single option of that. Then once you get to that point, you go back and you're like, okay, on the website, I've had a look that there's an unroasted version. So then you go through and you utilize that and you do keyword searches based on that over and over again until you've basically rinsed every possible variation that's come up. Because like I said, Amazon is a search engine. And yes, when we do, when we do our searches, sometimes you can search it via ASIN, but a lot of the time you're searching it via keywords. So just changing those keywords, adapting them, adding in extra words, taking out words, that can really help because like I said, it's very keyword focused. And if you put in not the wrong keyword, but if you put in a variation of a keyword, it will bring up different results. So that's why you have to look at the different keyword options in order to identify. And then once you've done that, what you can do is you can look at the customers also liked, sponsored ads, down at the bottom, and I'll show you this in a moment, where you can go and explore either more from that particular brand, because Amazon is all about, like I said, it's a search engine. It's all about relevancy. It's going to put in those products down at the bottom in those search bars or recommended search bars. It's going to put the products that are closely related to your search as much as possible. So if you're putting a brand name in, first and foremost, it's definitely going to bring up, brands related to that. Sorry, not brands related to that. It's going to bring up products related from that particular brand. And it's also going to bring up products that are related to that brand. And that might well be that products the customer frequently buys together, all of these different things. So then you can go through and you can get inspiration looking at that as well. Then, as I said, once you've found that product or brand range, you want to exhaust every possible variation of your leads. So some of you might have heard me say this, you almost need to become a detective. You want to ensure that you leave no stone unturned, you leave no listing hidden. You want to make sure that you cover every single possible variation of that particular product or brand have you got, that you've discovered. Have you got? Sorry, people keep sending me messages. I'm going through this. So yeah, grab your deerstalker hat, magnifying glass, and become a detective. So tonight I want to run through a quick case study. Now, I've cheated a little bit on this, guys, and I'm not actually doing, you know, sort of manual sourcing or anything tonight. But I want to share with you how I came across this particular example, and it actually gave me the inspiration for tonight's session. Now, I'm going to talk about MAC, the brand, the makeup brand MAC. It's a brand that I actually use all the time. If I was doing any drawer rummaging, I would be able to pull out, you know, lipsticks. I'd be able to put out foundation, blush, you know, all these different type of products. This product that I use myself. And what was really funny as to what kind of gave me the inspiration for tonight's session was a friend of mine, a really close friend of mine, messaged me and some girlfriends that are in a group chat because we all wear MAC makeup. And she said to me, she put in the group, she was like, sale on MAC, quick. You know, MAC lipsticks are on sale. And if you went through my drawers, you will see I've got like 30 different shades of MAC lipstick. I love MAC lipstick. It's like my favorite lipstick. So whenever there's a sale, you know, go and have a look and, you know, buy like loads of more lipsticks that I don't even need. So I kind of got it through and I looked at that. But me being me, my old kind of arbitrage Natalie kicked in. And I actually found... she didn't appreciate this very much. I know you guys will appreciate it more. But actually, the sale was on MAC, but I actually found a website, another website that they were cheaper on. I couldn't help it. I had to see if I could find it any cheaper. Like I said, those habits do not die hard at all. And I actually found it cheaper than was on the MAC website. But what it kind of got me thinking about, and what I was, you know, I was talking to them in my group and I was laughing about, I was like, do you know what, this would make a great case study because there's so much profit in a lot of these type of products from the sale this weekend. You know, I feel I have to share this with people because, you know, if you know how to look for these type of products, then you know, you can make some really good profit. So that's initially how I came under it. But at the same time, I felt comfortable sharing this. One, because the deal's finished, or the deals have finished now from this weekend, so I don't feel like I'm giving away anybody's type of deals. And also, MAC is an arbitrage brand. So hopefully you guys would agree with me that it's a brand that a lot of people know about that can be resold on Amazon. So we will just assume that I wasn't told this by a friend and it was something that I managed to come across. And like I said, I'm using this as a case study tonight, but you can apply this to any type of, you know, brand, website or anything that you come across. So before we go in and look at the MAC case study, it's just a really quick, you know, details there of some products that are available. I'm not going to linger on it too long, but you can see here that some of these products, you know, were as low as $10.62 in this particular case, you know, reduced down from a heavily reduced price anyway. But like I said, I did manage to find them even cheaper on another site. But, you know, I would say quite regularly, these type of products, especially the MAC lipsticks, you can probably source them when they are on offer for anywhere between £9 to £11, something like that. That's probably the you know, the average as what you can, you know, find these particular products for. So we'll use that as an example. But before I do that, I want to quickly run through and show you the difference between looking at something where it's more a niche brand versus a broad brand. So I'm going to go on first of all and identify another really, really popular arbitrage product, which is the Sol de Janeiro creams, and kind of, it's a Brazilian brand, and they do different types of creams and lip balms and all of these different types of things. So say, for instance, I'd come across this site through some of the techniques that I showed you. Maybe I'd sold it in the past. I was having a look at the website. Maybe I discovered it, you know, that one of the products on a sourcing sheet or something like that. But ultimately, I want to have a look at this brand. So what I would do then at this stage is I would come into Amazon and I would type in Sol de Janeiro. Okay, and what you can see here, and I want to draw your attention. So this is the BuyBot Pro Quick View. So this is what I was talking about, where I was talking about where you want to identify whether Amazon is on there, how many FBA sellers, how many merchant fulfilled sellers, the rank, whether or not it looks kind of low. And you can have a look at the product price as well, and you can see whether or not you get the kind of feels of whether potentially there could be any particular profit in there. And you can have a look at these particular things. Now, obviously, I'm not looking at this site source from. Essentially, at this stage, I don't know if there's any offers on this particular site at this stage. All I'm interested in is the brand as a whole. So then what I would do at this stage is I've typed in Sol de Janeiro. Well, there's potentially 154 results. So I want to narrow that down a bit. So I can come down on the left-hand side and I can click the brand in particular. Now, be careful with this, guys, because if somebody has listed it not under the brand, i.e. on their own brand, so this is not a foolproof system. If somebody has listed it under their own brand, if you just select all the brands under Sol de Janeiro, then it's only going to bring up the ones that have the brand in the brand field. So if some naughty seller has listed it under their own brand, it's automatically going to take it out of the generic search, and it's going to remove it from the brand search, essentially. So just be aware of that, guys. But now I've got 25 results, which is a lot easier to kind of digest and manage down. Now, I know this brand, you know, quite well. So what I'll do is I'll go into the shop. I'll have a look for it from that point of view. And I can go through, quickly scan through the shop. This is the brand's own shop, as opposed to looking on something like Feel Unique, Look Fantastic, or something which has got lots of brands, lots of different pages. This is the brand's website. So I can quickly scan through and I can see here we've got some bundles. By the way, I'm on the American version of the site. I'm aware of that. But as we go down, we've got some sort of oils. We've got some apparatus. We've got some T-shirts. But if we go through, we've got some bundles as well. Some that are in stock, some in stock. But there's about 10 lines, 10 to 12 lines of 3 products here. So essentially, this product range, as it stands, extends, unless there are other site exclusives and that type of thing, we could reasonably suggest that there's probably about 30 products in this brand range, which is no you know, big brand. It's quite a niche brand. So, you know, I'm not too worried about actually physically going through, highlighting, copy and pasting, or you can look at it from this way and you can go back, because, you know, some of these products are going to be sold by Amazon. Some might not be sold by Amazon, but you can go through and make your choice from there, whether or not you want to forward search on the products that are already there, or whether or not you just search on the products that are here through identifying which ones potentially could be of interest. Like, no Amazon on this particular one. It's a shampoo. It's a 300 ml, 8 FBA sellers, so a little bit on the expensive side. 8 reviews could indicate that it's not a particularly fast seller, but like I said, don't always be you know, don't always not look at something because of a rank or a fast seller. This is actually a no BSR provided by Amazon. So Amazon do not provide all information. This is something that this is not a fault of the software. It's just not being provided by Amazon on this particular occasion. If you can hover over it, you can see also, I don't know if you can see that right down in the corner, the keeper chart comes up as well, and you can double check that by saying sales rank next to it. And I can see it, but you guys can't, that there's a break in the green line, which means that Amazon is no longer providing the sales information for this particular product. Now, that in itself could potentially mean that I want to go and investigate this product a little bit further, purely because some people might misinterpret that line as it's not selling. Now, like I said, I'm not going to dive deep into particular sourcing. It's just to show you tonight how you can identify particular opportunities. But for me, definitely, I can see that there's a break in the green line. I can see that Keeper is not being provided with the data. Buybot Pro is not being provided with the data. So therefore, that could be worth investigating, because there's definitely sales, because there's reviews. So it has sold at some point in the past, no doubt about it. So you could go in and have a look at that, explore that a little bit further. So when it comes to Sol de Janeiro Bum Bum Cream, or Boom Boom Cream, as it should be correctly pronounced. I know that's something definitely down at the prep centre that they always have some fun with. But or they used to, I should say. It's something that with this amount of products, I can see here, there's 25 results. It's brought up 25 products that all relate to this brand. Yes, there might be a little bit of further investigation that I want to do, just to check that there's not any extra products under, you know, bundles or branded products. But what I'm saying is my detective hat tells me 25 results. On the website, there's approximately 30 odd products. So we're not too far off. Everything that I've managed to identify here under this brand is more than likely showing in these particular results. And you can identify that a little bit further. Like I said, you can dive deep a little bit more, depending on what type of seller you are. In my head, straight away, I'm already thinking, okay, so there could be 5 products that are not listed on here. So could there be 5 opportunities for me to create listings for products that could sell particularly well? But it could be that these particular products could be out of stock. So there's something extra I can do for that. I can search on Google Images just to see if there's any particular products that I can't find. Or I can just literally go back into the product, copy and paste, identify the ones that were already on there, and just see if there's any missing. And if there is, can I create a new opportunity here, or could it potentially be a hidden listing, as in it's out of stock? So, you know, always have that detective hat on, always be thinking, always be looking, you know, for those different types of opportunities. But it's a niche brand, so it's a relatively easy brand to search from that point of view. But what do we do when we come across a brand that is not that easy in terms of product range? I'm just going to grab a drink. Hang on a sec. Well, this is where the Mac, excuse me, this is where the Mac case study comes in. So I'm going to jump over onto the Mac website at the moment. And like I said, I'm a Mac fan. So, you know, even not selling this stuff, I know that, you know, all about this particular brand and how many potential variations is of this. So if I go into some of these, it might be a little bit hard for you guys to see, but if I go just into the makeup section of Mac, you can see how many different types of subcategories there are. So we've got face, lips, eyes, brushes, tools, and then you've got under face, you've got foundation, and then under foundation you might have 10 different types of foundation, and then you might have the Studio FX one, you might have a Studio Fix one, you might have all, you know, a sheer one, you might have a matte one, all of these different types of things. Then you might have some that have got SPF, you might have some that have got different shades. I am talking in makeup alone, literally thousands upon thousands of variations of MAC makeup. And you can see here, if I go in and I search from reverse sourcing point of view, MAC makeup, we've got 330 results, which isn't too bad. But remember, this is a keyword search term. So what I mean by that, if the word makeup does not appear somewhere prominently in the listing, it's not going to be picked up. And then it's also going to pick up, you know, potentially other brands that, you know, may be associated with that. See already here, I've got Max Factor coming up, which obviously is not a Mac brand at all. So sometimes people might be able to get, you know, some people might get kind of overwhelmed. So, okay, right, what if we narrow the search down a little bit more? Let's go into makeup and let's go into lipstick. Fine, so I'll go in and I'll search Mac lipstick. Again, 114 results, not a crazy amount of results, but still it's not going to show every potential kind of variation of that, because they might have some under variations. There might be some that Amazon sell. 114 is not too bad to go through, but believe me, when you're looking at things that have got such small variations in the listing, then it becomes really, really difficult to identify if you've already looked at a particular type of product or something like that. So again, what you can come down and do is you can narrow it down a little bit more. And for some reason, our search result has gone up. Now, I think that's down to exactly what I've said. The reason why the search result has gone up as opposed to come down is because they're in the keyword search that I just performed. There might be some particular listings under there that are not under the correct brand. So again, 168, some people might be okay with going through those and manually checking each one, but some might have variations. You can go ahead and do that. There's no problem with doing that whatsoever. Yeah, some people are more than happy to go through and look at the lipstick variations in that way. But what I think is a more kind of strategic way to do it is to narrow in on the website and to break it down even further. Like I said, when you go into lipstick and you have a look here, we can see that you've got a matte version, we've got the amplified version, we've got a sheen version, which is the cream sheen version. And then when you go into each one, you can see you've got all of these different kind of color variations as well. And these will all appear like really differently on different websites as well. So that's when it can be a little bit confusing. So what you can do is you can go through at this stage. You can just copy and paste. You can highlight the shade. You can go back in. This is matte lipstick. So we can put matte lipstick. Now this one's probably not going to come up because it's a new shade, which means it might not be listed on Amazon. But you can have a look and you can identify whether or not it's there. And when something is that targeted, it's unlikely, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, that it's not going to appear any more then probably I would say the first page. When something is that targeted, if it's not on the first page, unless it's out of stock, it means that it probably doesn't exist. Not always the case. Like I said, it's not a foolproof kind of strategy, but a lot of the time it means it's not there. And that kind of makes sense because we've already established that this is a new shade anyway. So what I would do in this scenario is, instead of going through and clicking each one, which absolutely you can do, but you know, there's no reason. I prefer to go through and look at it alphabetically. So if you do like a drop down kind of thing, then what you can do is, at least when you do something alphabetically, it's got more of an order to it. That's the way that I look at it. Whereas here, it tends to be done, I don't know how it's worked out. I was going to say it's done by shade. Maybe it is, but there seem to be some different shades going into another. So what you can actually do is you can go in, you can copy and paste this whole list, and then you can kind of create your own sourcing list from that point of view. And this is one that I obviously prepared earlier. But instead of having a random kind of approach to it, you can look at it more systematically. So in this case, I can just go to this list, I can copy it over, I can press MAC Matte lipstick, and I can type in, if I can make sure it's there, Just waiting for it to catch up. And I can type in the specific model of that particular product. Now, we've got one here. I was looking at the colors. Now, I don't know. I'm going to have to kind of identify this, investigate this a little bit further. Excuse me. I'm going to have to identify this one a little bit because the title was Mac Matte. So I can't tell from the outset whether or not this is the Art Natural one. So this one in particular, I am going to have to go in and see whether or not it's this particular one. Now, it's just called beige, so it doesn't particularly help me. And in this case, it is also a variation. So it's possible it could be under one of the variations of this particular one. So that I'd have to investigate a little bit more. And bearing in mind, obviously, if it does come up on a variation as well, you need to make sure you're checking your BuyBot Pro variations just to check and make sure that it's the most popular one. Actually, in this case, it looks like the most popular one, not always the case, but potentially has the highest level of reviews is the red and the pink. You can go down and explore them a little bit further and just see whether or not there's any further details. If someone's listed this, in this case, they've really not given any information as to whether or not this particular product is this particular product. So with this listing and doing kind of basic due diligence, I don't really want to list on this particular one anyway, because it's not particularly clear what type of product it says. We've got one that says Lady Danger there. So it's possible that you could find out a little bit more about the particular listings and dive into them. But I'm not going to spend any more time on this, in particular because of the pricing anyway as well. You know, hovering over, looking at the pricing, it's going to be a little bit too low. Knowing, even though I can get this for £9, if I can get it for £10.50, depending on what price that you can source it at, there's not going to be any profit in it at that rate. And again, that's something that comes with experience. You tend to become a human arbitrage calculator. You're not always right because it's a really small product. Within my BuyBot Pro, I'm allowing kind of, I think I allow 70p for prep, something like that as well. And obviously, when you are sourcing and sending in a product like this, it's so small, it's so light. I often say this type of product is the type of product that's going to get a free ride into Amazon. So don't automatically discount it, because when they're very small and they're very light, don't confuse this with small and light program, because it would not qualify for small and light program because of the price. But it gets a free ride into Amazon. You can just chuck these into an arbitrage box and it's not going to cost you anything to send in. So, you know, when you're thinking about really small light products, take that into consideration. But even that taken into account, even at the lowest possible price, £9 into $14.30 is still not going to work because of FBA fees, Amazon fees, all those lovely fees that we've got to pay. So I can come back at this stage, and then what I can do is I can maybe change the color, and I can put that down as red, as in I've checked it, it's no good. Okay, and then I can go through that process again. And obviously when you guys are doing it yourself, it's going to be a lot quicker. I'm talking through it as I do it. So here we go. So we've got Antique Velvet MAC. So I just want to go back and check the, sometimes you might need to go back and check the color on some of these. So it is a dark one, this one. So making a physical check, I can tell that it's this one. Now, actually, before I click into it, I can see with this particular product, okay, sales rank is high, but sales rank doesn't scare me. It really can depend on a lot of circumstances as to why that sales rank could be particularly high. It's got a sales rank, that's the most important thing. But kind of hovering over it, and again, I don't know if you can see the information, the price isn't listed here, but if I hover over it, I can see that it's priced at £25. Now, obviously, for a single listing, that is pretty expensive. So, yes, sales rank is high, but I'm going to go in, I'm going to have a look at this one in a bit more detail. I can see that Amazon are not on the listing, and I can see that there's low level of sellers on the listing with this one as well. Now, Bible Pro's given me that little warning sign, which could potentially indicate that the fees are not correct because it's never had an FBA offering. So that's something you will need to take into account. But even if I could source this at the highest possible price that I could over the weekend, which was £10.62 or something like that, and the lowest being £9, then even my maths in my head tells me that even if the fees are potentially wrong in this case, then potentially there is going to be some level of profit here. So say, for instance, I go in and put the top end of 10.56. Now, you do have to also ask yourself the question, why is there no FBA offering? And this is where you can go back and you can have a look at the charts just to see if there has been an FBA offering at any point. And I don't, oh yes, there has. So yeah, there has been, we can just see them coming in at this stage. So there has been an FBA offering, so it should be okay in that respect. But if there's not been an FBA, or there's very low levels of FBA sellers, then I would say probably the first thing that jumps out, it could be hazmat. And bearing in mind it's makeup and a lot of beauty items do tend to fall under hazmat, that wouldn't surprise me. But of course, if you're part of the dangerous goods program, then you should be able to send this in anyway as well. So, you know, that shouldn't be an issue whatsoever. But you come across this, I mean, you look at that, £8.15, the profit's there. Like I said, I'm not going to go into massive due diligence on this as to, you know, why you would or why you wouldn't particular buy this product. It's just about showing you how to identify potential opportunity. Then you know, it might well be that we've had a really high rank here because it's gone out of stock for some reason. I don't know if it's not showing the chart for some reason. It's playing up, so I could go down and have a quick look on Keeper. It's not that it was out of stock, it didn't particularly sell during that period of time, but there wasn't any FBA offerings. So in this particular case, if I was going to explore it a little bit further with this particular product, then the obvious thing would probably be to bring the price down. I know you guys don't like hearing that, or some of you might not hearing that, but the sensible thing would be to bring it down to see if that can encourage some newer sales. But there have been some relatively recent sales on this one around the 25 mark, so proof of at a lower price it does seem to sell better. So that's something just to take into account. But the guys in ESA will tell you that for me in particular, I quite like seeing charts like this, purely because the higher the rank, the less the data is collected. The less the data is collected, the more chance that the softwares have not picked up on sales. So drops in sales do not necessarily mean, you know, it will always indicate a sale if it's in a particular type of drop. But over a certain period of time, the higher the rank, the data doesn't get checked as often. So there could have potentially been secret sales within that period of time. That's why I always make sure to tell people, don't discount anything on seller rank alone. You just want to make sure that there has been evidence of sale. That's the most important thing. So for me, that could be one that I might want to explore a little bit further. So therefore I can go in, give that a green light, and I might want to make like a little note next to it or something like that. Then I can go through the process, and obviously I'm not going to go through every single one, but start the process again. And, you know, maybe I want to remove lipstick. It's entirely up to you. You can go through and do that. Candy. There. So again, this one looks like it might appear on that variation. go and have a look. But Amazon's on that one. So yeah, I think this was the same variation as earlier. Now, don't get me wrong. These probably are these colors because it's probably being picked up somewhere in the listing. They probably are these colors. But to be perfectly honest, I'm not really going to be interested in this one anyway, because Amazon themselves are selling on this particular product. So that's going to be like an instant no for me. So, and you can then literally go all the way through every single one of these offerings. If I sort of like jump into, I don't know, if I just take this one, you can go through them systematically. You can do it in kind of whatever way you want. And there's a little bit more of an order to it, essentially. So here we go. Look, this is one that I've come across. Again, higher rank on the beauty side of things, but it's got reviews. It means it's sold. £27, quite expensive. Going in low levels of sellers, probably in this case, sorry, I tend to scroll quickly. I forget people are watching me. I can go in. Obviously, that's plus delivery as well, but there might be some inbound stock. 1062, that's high price. Analyze. I just want to have a look in a bit more detail. It's not a variation, this one. There's not been any recent sales, but it could well be. There could be some hidden sales here. And this is a really good indication of this, because we can see here that the new offer count has gone up and come down, which means that there shouldn't be any particular IP issues here, which then means there shouldn't be any type of removals. Yes, you could account for the fact maybe somebody decided to pull their stock or something like that, whatever reason. But there has been, you know, a move in sellers, gone up to 3, come back down to 2, which means indication that there could be a sale during this period of time. But again, looking at what we've already discussed, I mean, if you know the brand MAC, you know that this is very expensive for a listing, a lipstick, which means that if you were to get a small particular test of this one, you could easily bring that sale price down by 5, 8, you know, even £10. To be perfectly honest, and it would still, probably not at that price, you know, you could bring it down closer to the 25 mark and it would probably make better sales. But that's up to you guys to make sure that you go through, you do your due diligence. I'm actually amazed, to be perfectly honest, that it's still got a buy box at that price, but you know, it has. But we can see here that they're mainly sort of drop shippers, with high levels of stock, higher pricing. Somebody has come in quite high from an FBA offering, but it's possible, you know, it could be stock just landing, could be priced high, you know, that type of thing. And then you can go through and you can just highlight it, you can add notes to it. But what this is really good for is if you are collecting the data and you're making a note of it, if you are someone that manually sources, like does a hybrid role where you do some of the sourcing yourself, and maybe you've got a VA, well, it's super easy for you to create these type of lists and to send them over to your VA to go ahead and do, you know, the sort of the more kind of tedious work. But the way that I personally see it, maybe I'm a bit of a sourcing geek, I don't know, I see this as far more interesting than copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste, because you're discovering, you're creating a list and you're being kind of systematic and you're being methodical about it. So, you know, that's the way that I see it. But it's something that, as I said, you can create these lists yourself of various different brands. You can send them through to your VA. You can hold them at a later date. You can go back and look at them when you've got a bit more time. Maybe you're at a busy time in your business, but you can keep revisiting them. Like I said, you know, it's good to put a date in. When did you last review it? Go through the list. This list would last reviewed today. Well, put it in your diary 3 months to recheck the list again. I mean, to be perfectly honest, this is a lot of information. You might not be rechecking it that often, but you can leave yourself little notes on it. It might well be that if I discovered this one, you can say something like, didn't quite hit the mark, but there was evidence of it being sold higher when there was less saturation, when there was less competition. So you might, when you go back and have a look at the list in 3 months' time, just want to revisit the ones that had your little notes on them, or the ones that you've made at the time. So it's all about just doing it in a more kind of systematic kind of way, creating the lists and creating your own data. It's what I talk about, I think, the most. Is just Amazon is such a wealth of information and data. So it's really, really important, especially when you're putting all the hard work in. Don't forget about it. Make a record of it and come back to it at a later date. And that's it, really. I'll stop sharing my screen. Any questions? Let me know. I'm back. Just see if there's any. Stop screen. There we go. Get rid of that. I'm going to go back and have a look. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. It's always difficult when you do it on your own. I sometimes forget people are watching. Has anyone got any questions? Let me know. Just going back over. I think I answered them kind of as we went through, but my feed did cut out. So apologies if I missed any. Small and light but cheaper fees as merchant. Yeah, potentially, depending on if you're merchant fulfilling, there's extra things that you can look at as well. Like I said, tonight, it wasn't about due diligence. Tonight was just about showing you where opportunity could be created from. In terms of your own due diligence, you still need to go ahead and you still need to go through that process of Buybot Pro. Can I sell it? Okay, great, I can sell it. Then how many sellers are on there? Is there too much competition? Is there history of, you know, saturation? All of these different types of things. So this isn't magic or anything like that. You still need to go through that process. And it does take longer than looking at like sourcing software or something like that, but you really can uncover a lot of hidden gems the more you dive into brands and products. And like I said, this doesn't just work with brands, it works with products as well. So it works with, you know, if I was to look up lipstick in particular, and actually what's the next stage from here? So if I was just looking under, say, Mac, and I kept coming across listing, well, you're kind of at a fork in the road where, or crossroads where you go from there. So once I've done Mac, do I then move on to lip liners because it's related to lipsticks? Or do I go down the route of looking at another brand of lipsticks? There's so many different ways that you can take it, and there's no right or wrong way. You can really, really you know, explore and see what works for you. But my biggest tip in all of this is make sure you record the data. Make sure you're not, you know, going back over your same steps. You're not pacing the room and you're retracing your steps every single time. That's where people tend to get frustrated with manual sourcing, because you find you're coming across so many different types of products that you forget certain types of products, and then all of a sudden you find yourself, hang on, I checked that one last week. I've done all this work and actually I couldn't sell it because of this reason or whatever. So that's why, you know, record the data, record your work as much as possible. Google Drive is absolutely the best way to do that for free. I'm not saying that there's not some good paid options depending on what type of software you're using and things like that, but definitely Google Drive, you can record so much data in there, it's ridiculous. Steve says hit Control F on multi-product page to pick out specifics, i.e. antique velvet makes it a little quicker. Well, thanks for that, Steve. Yeah, definitely a good tip. I don't know if I've got a Control F on, I've got Mac. So, oh, Control F. Yeah, sorry, I see what you mean. Yeah, I was like, is that a special like button for a PC or something like that? So yeah, Steve's tip there, you can explore and look a little bit deeper into the variations as well. So that's a great tip. Thanks for sharing that, Steve. So at what point do Amazon pick up sales rank and start reporting sales rank if they haven't previously reported it? So hang on a sec. At what point do Amazon pick up and start? No fixed period. Now, the reason why the sales data goes blank, and this is general kind of consensus, although you guys know that Amazon will never come out and fully clarify something or not clarify something. So it's when there is a change in the listing. So when something has disrupted, that's when they tend to stop the data, stop reporting the data until the listing kind of becomes stable again. Because if you change something in the listing, I'm talking about there might have been a title change, there might have been a picture change, there might have been a category tree change, then as in Amazon might have reshuffled and put it into a different category. Once there's a major change in the listing that could potentially disrupt the consistency of sales, they just remove the data. Not because they care about us and worry that we're going to worry, you know, that we're going to, you know, buy the wrong product or something like that. I don't want anyone to think, oh, that's really nice of Amazon. No, it's because Amazon are massive data collectors themselves, and they only want to collect the data when they know that it's in a consistent, you know, state, that it's where it's supposed to be, and that's when it will pick it back up again. But there's no rhyme or reason. I've seen ones that have gone for 2 days. I've seen ones that have gone for months and haven't returned. So it could well be, yeah, I don't know the honest, complete answer to that. I wish I did, but I don't. But it's when a change has occurred, and it could be because it's gone suppressed. It could have gone into hazmat. It could have gone into, you know, all these various different reasons, and that data. But most of the time, the data does come back. But when you get that break-in data, just make sure you're checking new offer count just to see if it's going up or down. You're checking reviews to see if any reviews are being left at a certain point, because if you know that a review is left, now don't get me wrong, reviews are not left on the day of sale. They're generally probably about a 2-week window afterwards. But if you know if the data has disappeared for a 3-month period and 1 month in, someone's left a review during that period of time, there's a good chance they bought it within that kind of window of the data being out. But you should be able to tell that. Those are the two main ways that you can sell that. Hopefully that's answered that, Dean. Camhouse says, is Googling the product barcode once you have decided the best way to find cheapest suppliers for it? So there's a lot of different ways that you can do that, but Google is definitely your best friend in terms of identifying it. As I said, this was more about showing the opportunity as opposed to finding the cheapest option. But there's a variety of different options. The best way is to search manually through Google Shopping. What you can also do is you can right click and search through Google Images just to see if you can identify through various, it tends to give you, people use the same images unless it's an image that's been created by a seller. Then what I'm saying is whoever's listing it on Amazon, that I forgot I wasn't sharing. I went to go and show you something. So like the lipstick as it stands on Mac, that will be the same picture that's on Amazon. It will be the same picture on Feel Unique. It'll be the same picture on Boots. It'll be the same picture on Superdrug, all of these different things. So if you search via image, you can narrow it down to some of the retailers that particular product's on. And then it's just kind of general due diligence from there, because the cheapest doesn't automatically think it's the best deal. You have to look at whether there's any extra discount codes that you can use. Maybe that particular retailer has a higher level of cashback, has a higher level of cashback, and maybe one doesn't offer cashback. Can you get any extra discounts, you know, through the coupon extensions? Is there something on honey? Is there something under a manual search? On the outset on shopping, it looks the cheapest, but actually when you go into another retailer, they're running a buy one, get 50% off that didn't show in the initial site. You can check comparison sites depending on the different types of products. So there's not one kind of clear answer to that one. It comes back to exactly what I said at the start of this. It's a combination of experience, which you only get by doing this on a regular basis, and perseverance and patience. And, you know, combining those key three things definitely, you know, and like I said, just exploring every possible avenue. So hopefully that's answered that. I can never see. Do you know what? Someone asked me a question where I can just say yes or no. No, I'm only joking. I always try and give as much detail as I can sometimes. So Denise says, problem with deal sheets is the price tanks once everyone adds to the listing. Also, out of stock at the retailer if you don't get to it early. Also, minimum amounts are set by retailer in case there's lots of sales. I've just cancelled myself for these reasons. This is why it's so important to be able to do it yourself. So thanks, Natalie. Well timed for me. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, like I said, I hope it's helpful. This is stuff. Some of you will know every single part of this because you've been doing it for years and you've been finding your own techniques. Some of you might be newer to it. Some of you might have always used like a deal sheet or something like that, and you want to explore some manual options yourself. Some of you will have VAs. Like I said, it's not one, you know, one rule works the best for every single person. It really depends on your own personal circumstances. I will always say that I do think that manual sourcing will definitely, depending on which way you do it, should produce the best results, but there's no reason why you can't do a little bit of everything. Variety is the spice of life, after all. And you've seen how much information there is as well. So unless you are doing this 8 hours a day, every single day, there's still going to be opportunities that I'm not going to be able to identify, or you're not going to be able to identify, that a deal sheet can. So mixing it up, doing it a bit differently. Something like this, a perfect example of margin mixing as well. You mentioned about you know, out of stock at one retailer, but maybe not out of stock at another one. So this deal that ran on Mac over the weekend, like I said, I managed to find it cheaper. So the cheapest I could find those particular lipsticks were £9 with a certain retailer, with certain discount codes and things like that, and stacking and that type of thing. But added benefits not included. That was just buy price at the end of the day. So the lowest buy price. But I could get it 10.56 or 62 somewhere else. Another place I could get it for £11.25. And you saw the pricing on some of those. So even if it's out of stock in one of them, or they will only restrict you to a certain amount, like Mac, you can only order a total of 14 units in one order. Okay, well, I'm going to go order at Mac at £10.56. And then I'm going to order another website where you can buy 8 at £9, and then I'm just going to add the units together and divide them by 2, and then it will probably bring it closer as the average cost price of the unit of £10. So just because it's out of stock somewhere, or there's a limited amount that you can buy, think about margin mixing and seeing if you can overall get a good price for the product. Just because it's more expensive somewhere else, as long as you can buy it in one of the places where you can get it lower, it will bring the overall average cost of the unit down. So hopefully that makes sense. Margin mixing, that's what we call it. So Kyle says, thanks for the advice. Didn't know about Google Images. Amanda says, great tips as ever. Thanks, Natty. You're welcome. I love doing stuff like this. So, you know, I always try and do it as much as possible. Like I said, didn't really go into the full details of anything tonight, but it really was about, hopefully I've highlighted the potential opportunity there is through manual sourcing, and how you can, by adding a certain amount of element into your business, that it might be able to diversify, you know, some of your sourcing capabilities, and also increasing your experience, because there's no there's no cheating to this, essentially. The more you do it, the better you'll get. And I always say, because I know loads of you, you're exactly the same here as you are in, you know, a lot of the guys in ESA. Most of you guys all watch The Apprentice and things like that. One of the things that, one of the sayings that Alan Sugar has absolutely got right is the longer you do something, you develop the ability to smell what sells. If you watch The Apprentice, you know he uses that phrase all the time. So you spot opportunity where someone else who's not been doing it as long as you or as much as you spotting the opportunity. So the more you do something, the better you get it. It's as simple as that. And once you develop those skills, like I said, you know, the guys from ESA will absolutely, you know, confirm this. Just because you don't do something on a regular basis, but you can adapt it to something else. And these type of skills that you can learn through doing this type of thing are totally transferable. And whatever business that you choose to run in the future, a lot of these skills are really transferable. So the more you do something, the better you get at it, the more you smell what sells. If you go into private label, you can, you know, transfer a lot of it over and over again into different models. So hopefully that makes sense. Somebody on YouTube, sorry, it's just got the voice of unreason. It says, great info, thanks Nat. My business is falling over and I can't seem to get a breakthrough. I hope I can implement some of this stuff and get back on course. I hope you can too. Sorry, I'm not sure who you are, because it said, but yeah, fingers crossed. Like I said, it's not a magic wand. This stuff really does require patience. And the reason why manual sourcing does develop some of the best results is because it's not the easiest option. Whereas, you know, some other sourcing options, you have to think about it like this. The easier it is, the lower barrier to entry, the more people are doing it. And that's the way you got to do it. So I wish I could wave a magic wand and say, yeah, everyone do this and everyone hold their pricing and everyone do this. But unfortunately, it's not the case. You've just got to persevere, have patience, keep plugging away, be consistent, and, you know, the results will come. I personally believe that, you know, 100%. Super scrub question here, but because I've only sent one unit of something, I was wondering, would that affect you getting the buy box if you only have a single unit versus other sellers on the listing with many units at the same price? Buy box rotation is a bit of an urban legend in the sense that it's a bit of a myth. Buy box rotation doesn't really exist, as in if there's 3 sellers on the listing, the myth and the legend sort of says that, okay, well, you've each got, you know, it sells 30 units a month, you've each got 10 units, which means that if you all price at the same price, you will all sell your 10 units, you know, total of 30 units, because it will, you know, rotate between you. So, you know, 33% each if there's 3 listings on there. It doesn't work like that, unfortunately. The buy box is delivered on a multitude of different data kind of points. Stock, volume of stock, definitely one of them. Geographical location is another one that can factor in. Different types of, you know, fulfillment options. Of course, that's another one as well. Reviews, they don't really have a huge amount, but some people will argue if you're a brand new seller and you're up against someone that's got 25,000 store reviews, then yes, probably Amazon is going to favor them for the sale even more. But yes, I would say in terms of price and volume of units held, generally will favor the buy box to a particular seller. I would say those are the two key factors. But one of the best ways to go in and check is to go in and look at the buy box statistics on a particular listing under keeper, and then you can identify who's holding the buy box, what percentage they're holding the buy box, at what period of time they've held the buy box, and you can get a really good indication of what chance you have and what percentage you potentially have got of getting the buy box again, you know, certain types of statistics. Hopefully that makes sense. Voice of Unreason on YouTube. My full-time job is NHS is choking me time-wise. I really need some shortcuts and some proper structure to my sourcing. Thanks, Nat. Well, you're welcome. Like I said, genuinely, I hope it helps. But, you know, keep it up, keep consistent, and then hopefully you will have that breakthrough. Well, like I said, gosh, 9 o'clock already. So yeah, doesn't time fly when you're having fun? Hopefully you've enjoyed the session. I'll be back this time next week. I think we've got a guest on next week, so it won't just be me. But obviously any questions, post them in the group. If you're watching on YouTube, or if you're not watching on YouTube, go into YouTube, and if you've enjoyed the video, leave a comment, give a thumbs up. I know I always say it, but then I realize I say that every single week, and people do give thumbs up and people do leave comments, but obviously if you're on the chat, then it doesn't leave a comment on the video. But it just means, you know, the video gets some good ratings from a YouTube point of view. So no pressure. But if you've got a spare couple of minutes, please feel free to give us a thumbs up. Good, that makes sense. Best time to buy OA stock. I'll answer that one quickly. Anytime. I know that sounds like there isn't really. Supermarkets and things like that. Sometimes the earlier you can put your orders in, potentially. I mean, the best time is, yeah, I don't want to say there is a best time, because there really isn't. It's, you know, if it's in stock, buy it and it works and you want to try it out, you know, that's the best time to do it. If you're talking about from a calendar point of view, as in, is it best in January? Is it best in February? It's best all year round. Certain months do have seasonal peaks and seasonal troughs, obviously, but Amazon has got millions and hundreds of millions of products, so it's not just a case of it being dead in, you know, the whole of Amazon on August. It will just be quiet in certain product areas on August, and it'll be busy in other areas. So it's just about kind of knowing when those seasonal peaks and troughs are. So sorry if that wasn't very helpful, but yeah, if it's OA, it means that you get to sell a wide variety of products across dozens and dozens of different categories and different niches, which means that there should always be a seasonal peak at some time if your products are seasonal related. Right, cool. Well, thanks for joining me, guys. We had a really high turnout tonight, and you guys all stayed to the end, which is really, really good. Okay, so yeah, that's good. Just clarified that. Yeah, I'll see you next week. So any questions, post them in the group. Give some of the techniques a try. Let us know how you get on. And it's always good to hear feedback. And I will see you 7 o'clock next Tuesday for another session. See you later. Bye.